Excellent. So then I will have Gurneet sort of take over our introduction and our net acknowledgements.
Thanks, Morgan. Everyone, thanks for joining the Youth Food Committee. It's end of March. So literally we're marching on a march. Have to make a joke about that. Yeah, so we're super thankful that you're able to take time out of your day to hear a really great presenter that we have lined up and, talking really at the root of food and farming. So we'll dive into that more. And just like to ground us, and as we always start off with a land acknowledgement and also reflection, thinking about it's more than just land and it's always more than just food. It's a lot about relationship building. So just starting off, like here at York Region Food Network, our work values are intimately connected to the land and its people. We live and work on traditional territories of the Wendat, Haudenosaunee, Mississauga of the Credit, and Anishinaabe peoples. We recognize the ongoing process of colonialism has destroyed traditional food systems, and many of our practice, including our organizational structure, that the seeds that we plant, the foods that we prepare, the ways that we educate, and our methods of growing, harvesting, and preparing food come from these lands through colonialism. And we have a fundamental responsibility to not just acknowledge the traditional lands we're on, but also do the work every day to unlearn and relearn our history. And we're committed to honoring our responsibilities as treaty people, part of Williams Treaty and Treaty 13, and the role we play in reconciliation. And I'll also add aspects of reparations and also like thinking about the movement of land back. And there's a lot of intersectionality and things at play there. And it's always complex, but we're always learning bit by bit. And York Region hasn't really taken a deep dive into this, and hopefully our youth group, like every meeting, every event that we do, every something, we're pushing a little bit forward and trying to do things in a different way. So yeah, thank you all for being here and being present, and I will pass it off to Morgan to kind of introduce the agenda and get into our programming.
Excellent. Yes, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you, Siki, for being here. I'm just going to do a quick introduction of Siki, and then I'll ask her some questions, and then everyone else feel free to, ask questions in the chat, and then or pop in and ask your questions as they come up as well. As you all know, we're not a really formal group, so even though I'm asking questions, yeah, feel free to jump in at any time and add any comments. And I want this to be more of a conversation rather than, us just sitting here and passively listening. Yeah, but first, let's introduce Siki. So Siki is a farmer, entrepreneur, and writer living and working in Toronto. She's passionate about health, advocacy, food justice, and community development. Siki earned a bachelor's in kinesiology and health science from York University and currently works at a Toronto-based nonprofit supporting survivors of gender-based violence. Some of her experience includes working at the grassroots level to provide education support to marginalized communities, as a facilitator for TMU's Leadership Lab, and as an intern at a local radio station. Siki is committed to living joyfully and loves to catch up with friends over great food. I feel like we can definitely all relate to that very last line for sure. But to just open it up, Siki, can you tell us a bit about yourself, like how you spend your time, what your passions are? Yeah, and I will just leave that open for you to answer however you like.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am super excited. And this is also the first time I've had my bio read out loud. So it's, yeah, I see what people mean. It's very, I like it, but I was also like, oh my God, that's me. But my name is Siki, and I think that reading that bio, I feel like I'm a bit boring outside of work. I like mostly, honestly, just being honest, I spend most of my time either hanging out with friends or relaxing or reading or working. Honestly, that's where I'm at right now. Maybe hopefully in a couple years that'll change, but right now I mostly, I think I'm pretty basic. So that's a bit about me. Let me see if I wrote anything else. Oh yeah, I have a cat. I have a cat, so slightly more exciting, but that's a bit about me.
Excellent. I love cats. I have 2 cats as well, and I wouldn't be surprised if one eventually barges in. So yeah, love that that's one of the things you highlight about yourself. So my next question is, we have some members who have a keen interest in agriculture and farming in various capacities, whether it be from the planning side of things, where Katie's at, or you have people who are interested in urban ag, or even just looking at it from like an organizational point of view of how we can have like community gardens. Yeah, so lots of various interests in farming. Can you tell us a little bit about your farming journey?
Of course. I feel like for me, I think I'm at a space right now where it makes sense, but a couple years ago, I just knew that I wanted to work with food. I didn't know what that would look like. So I was in school for kinesiology and health science. I was like, okay, maybe I'm going to become a nutritionist, or I'm going to do like some post-grad that was going to allow me work in food. But that ended up not working. It just never clicked. And for context, my mom grew up on a farm. She was a poultry farmer. My grandma was a farmer. But I was raised in the city, so I didn't know anything about farming really, aside from seeing the connection to land that my grandmom had and my mom as well. So I think that my journey to farming has been, I would say, slow, but then in retrospect, it makes a lot of sense, because I graduated and then I didn't see farming as something I could do as a career or a business, mostly because I think I was raised to like go to school and get like a job in an office, like a typical 9-to-5, which I did. But I think that I graduated in 2019, and the year after was the pandemic. And then I feel like that time allowed me to be able to really think about what I wanted for my life, as well as how I wanted to use my degree. So food kept calling me, but I didn't know that it was farming, but now I am actually farming. It makes so much sense. So I actually started off volunteering at a farm, but then I think I did like maybe 2 shifts because my full-time job was super busy, so I couldn't keep that up. But I kept like putting myself in farming spaces, and then eventually an opportunity came up to farm in the city. So that's how I'm farming right now. I think my first connection to food it was actually from a house plant. So I basically rescued someone else's aloe vera plant when I was like maybe 6. And I feel like, like it wasn't mine, it was a neighbor's, like they just abandoned it. And then I was like, I just kept like every day checking and talking to the plant and singing, and I don't know, but anyways, the plant survived. And I think that maybe stayed with me. And then coming back to studying about things that actually affect people's health. A major one is food, surprise, urban planning, the space that people have to live and play. So I think it just came full circle, and now I'm farming and I absolutely love it. It makes all the sense in the world. Yeah, that's my journey to farming.
So can I ask you a little bit more about your farming? So I know in your bio you say you work for, what was it, a nonprofit that works with gender-based violence. Yeah. Is that like a separate job from the farming job, or I'm so curious about that.
It is a separate job. I posted on like my farm page earlier today about basically advice on how to balance a 9-to-5 with farming, because especially as a young farmer without generational wealth and access to land, right now I cannot afford to just like go off farming. That's not something that's realistic for me. Oh, thank you. I'm gonna put it in the chat, but it's called Azine Farms. I'm gonna put it real quick. So I was basically asking farmers if they would advise taking, like having a full-time job with farming full-time. Right now, it's very doable for me because it's not summer yet. So it's still, things are still like slowly growing. So I think it's definitely doable for now. I'm not, check back with me in like 3 months and see if, see if I still have like a smile on my face about like juggling the both of it. But yes, I do have a full-time 9-to-5 job. I work at a shelter, and it's work that I'm really passionate about. Yeah, so that's what I do in addition to being a farmer full-time. Yeah.
That is a lot. That is a lot. I guess, yeah, even my next question, I had like many of us in this group, like you seem to take on many roles. Like you have like this full-time job, you have the farm on the side, so to speak, even though it's like one of your key passions. Yeah, how do you find balancing those? And like what do you do to help yourself or to sort of prevent burnout, I guess? Yeah, do you have any recommendations for us, or do you have any thoughts around that? And we're also just curious about your experience.
I unfortunately don't, not yet, because I am definitely still, I think it's still a practice for me. So I can say what I've done over the past couple months to kind of like try to balance. I have taken sick leaves. I have tried to, I think I've definitely gotten better at advocating for myself. I think even before I started farming, the nonprofit sector can be very, how do I put it? I think the nonprofit sector I feel like it takes a lot from you, especially if you go into it with, this is not just a paycheck, which is completely fine for it to be just a paycheck. I just want to say on record, it's completely fine if you want your job just to pay your bills. I think that's completely normal. And sometimes I wish I leaned more towards that versus like wanting to fix the world, which is something I'm trying to unlearn. But I think that even before I started farming, I really struggled with balancing, like not burning out and still showing up as my full self at my jobs. I've also worked, like aside from where I work right now, I've only worked in nonprofits since graduation. That wasn't intentional, but that's just the way it's been. And I don't think it's going to change. Never say never, but like, I don't see myself working in corporate. But yeah, so I think it's definitely still a learning practice for me. Like I haven't figured it out, but in the past I have taken sick leaves. I have advocated for myself with my managers, and they've been great. I'm super grateful for that, because I know that's not the case for everyone. And I think I'm definitely someone that has to plan everything in terms of like, I have to physically write to arrange my life. And something that has really helped has been to schedule joy and schedule rest. So like if I have, let's say I have a meeting at 11, I would literally put like, have a dance party before, have a dance party after. So I think that helps fill my cup in a lot of ways. So I'm definitely still learning. Yeah, I don't have the answer yet. I'm still figuring out. If you guys have any answers, honestly, I'm all ears. I'm all ears.
Can I just say, like, I absolutely love that idea of scheduling joy, because like,
Yeah.
even like outside of work, even if you are, working your 9 to 5, I feel like even just getting caught up in housework or getting caught up in things that you feel like you should be doing, it just sometimes means you don't have the scheduled joy. And I just love that. And I'm definitely going to incorporate that in my life. So thank you so much for saying that.
Of course.
Yeah, and also I also appreciate what you said about, working in a nonprofit, and you have this sort of, like, sometimes you take this mentality of like, you must fix the world, and trying to unlearn that, I think, is a very important thing for me to hear, especially. So I know you're not speaking just to me, but I love that. I love that so much. Yeah, so I know you said you're also passionate about health advocacy, food justice, and community development. How does that carry through in your work and in your day-to-day life?
That's a really good question. I think it carries through with the causes that I give my time or my energy or both, or like money too. I think one thing I kind of struggled with when I started working full-time was that I didn't have enough time to volunteer at organizations that I was really passionate about. And I didn't have enough money because I was working at a nonprofit to give money to the causes I was like really passionate about. But I think finding that balance, and also like reading and doing a lot of research, joining newsletters so I know and I'm up to date on like basically what's going on in the city regarding like causes that I really care about. So for example, like migrant worker rights, or like Black businesses, etc. And I think it also shows up in like places I work. I think I unintentionally fell into the nonprofit sector to like as a career, as a job. But I like it so far, so I think I'm gonna stay. But I think that part of my passion about advocacy and community work shows up in my day-to-day work. And I think I really appreciate that. I think that's something that I like about the nonprofit sector, like you're really close to the issues that you are passionate about. So yeah.
That's fantastic. Thanks. So the final question I have for you before we open it to the rest of the group. So the rest of the group, please think on questions, prepare to send questions, prepare to unmute yourself. But for my last question, do you have any words of advice for this group? Yeah, we're a bunch of youth. I know everyone's sort of in different positions in their life, where some people are finishing up school, have just finished school. Some people are, searching for jobs. Some people are like just beginning their careers. So just like keeping that in mind, where everyone's sort of positioned in their life. Like, do you have any advice for us?
I feel like it would depend on where the person was in their journey to farming. I don't know about life advice in general, but I think I can give like farming advice specifically. But I would say to keep dreaming. I'll say keep dreaming, and also put yourself in spaces that you want to be in. So I think that sometimes I'm definitely a firm believer that we can create new systems and repair new systems, but I'm not sure if that's possible if people don't have a chance and the space to actually dream of new systems that could work better than what's currently working. So I would say to have hope. It's a struggle most days, but I think having hope, keep dreaming, and also putting yourself in spaces that you want to be in. So I would say, for example, like even before I found the program that I'm currently farming with, the Black Business Incubator Program, I was watching farm videos on YouTube. And I actually don't think there's anyone from Canada on YouTube. So there were mostly like US-based farmers, but I kept at it. And then I feel like I was learning a lot of stuff way before I had a chance to practice. And I think that helps to like keep the fire of like, I don't see space in the city to farm. I don't know anyone with a backyard, honestly, which is random. But anyways, most people that I know live in apartment buildings, but I was still like, I'm like, no, I'm going to farm. I don't know how, but I'm going to farm. And now I'm farming, and it's like, the TikTok peeps say to be delusional, but yeah. I'm Gen Z, so I have to bring TikTok. It wouldn't be complete without, yeah.
Of course. No, I love all of that advice. I think having hope is something that is so important, and that dreaming is so important, especially when you're sort of in that transition phase too, between like school and getting a job and all of that. So now I feel like I've taken up enough space. Does anyone else have any questions, comments, or snippets to add? Anything? Of course, Sophie.
Thanks so much, Siki, for talking to us. I think you're so cool, and I want you to know that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Of course. I was really curious about so like on the farming side of things, I guess for people who are like curious to start farming, do you recommend like, I don't know, volunteering first or like jump right into a job? Like, I'm wondering how you think about that.
I think it depends on your specific situation. So it depends on your specific situation and what you want to get out of farming, but not like get, but like how you want to farm. So are you farming for business? Like, would you like to create a small business? Would you like to learn about farming and then go from there to decide if you want to make it a business? I feel like I would recommend, I think I would I feel like it would depend on if you found a farm that you felt comfortable at to work, because usually farming jobs, and if that was going to be your only like your only source of income, farming jobs don't pay a lot, unfortunately, unless you find an employer that is a living wage employer. Yay, please, let's do that, everyone. But unless you find that kind of employer, I would probably recommend volunteering, just because I feel like you might meet a lot of people, you might learn skills, you might meet more people in your community. But then I'm also saying that with the awareness that not everyone has time and is able to just volunteer. Like, people need to work sometimes, or work certain hours, so that might not be accessible for everyone. Yeah, that's what I would say on that. I feel like tailor it to your specific situation, but I think there's value on both sides. Like, if you find a farm, yeah, I feel like if I found a farm that I thought was really cool, that paid people well, I would definitely choose to work there. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Any other questions, comments?
Absolutely. Hi, it's so great to see you again. Sorry, say that again.
I said likewise. Great to see you as well.
Amazing. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for everything that you shared tonight. It was absolutely amazing. But and I was just wondering, like, so knowing the focus of your work is addressing and working towards the eradication of gender-based violence, how do you see like a commitment to gender justice in your farming, if you do?
That's a really good question. How do I see a commitment to gender justice in my farming? I think it's interesting for me, because I'm still learning this, by the way, but I immigrated from Nigeria, where it was quite normal. Where it was very normal to see Black women farmers. So moving here, I realized the context is different, because the people who have access to land a lot of the time don't look like me. But I feel like because I already had that background of, it was very normal, women grow food. Like, that was not, I was just like, oh yeah, like all the women I know are business owners and they're farmers. My grandma was a farmer. My mom was an entrepreneur and farmer. So it wasn't something that was odd to me, but I realized in the North American context, seeing people who have access to land and are able to make a living off their work. So not people who are coming to this country, that is Canada, and are basically having to work in like really precarious conditions for next to nothing and then going back. So basically seasonal workers. I think that, yeah, I feel like gender justice shows up there in farming. And I think for me, in my own personal journey in agriculture, I feel like it is reaffirming for me to say and exist that, and to say that I belong here, like I'm supposed to be here. It's very normal for me to be here, especially if you zoom out into the larger context of women farmers across the world. They might not own the land, but they work the land. They have been working the land for centuries and centuries before us. So it's definitely a question I'm going to think about more, but I think for now, that's my answer. Very good question.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful answer. I have another question, if I'm allowed.
Yeah.
I could actually sit here all night and ask you questions. But I just wanted to ask if you wanted to speak to the way that you conceived of the name of your Instagram page, which I'm not sure if that's also the name of your business. But I just wanted to ask if you could speak a bit to that.
Yes, I would love to. So the name of my farm is Ezinne Farms, and I come from, well, my parents are from two different tribes in Nigeria. So my mom is from the Igbo tribe, and that's one of the main tribes in Nigeria. And Ezinne means good mother. That's what it means in Igbo language. And it was a name that my grandma gave to me. And I feel like when I chose that name for my farm, I think not only did it pay tribute to my heritage, being that my grandma was a farmer and I met her, thankfully, and my mom was a farmer, but I think my grandma's mom was also a farmer. So I feel like it preserves that lineage of farmers in my family. And I think also moving to Canada and learning about land and learning about the earth and that journey of like displacement, but still finding your place and letting land adopt you. I think that for me, it was really, I think in my journey, just learning about Indigenous people and learning about the earth, I think the earth is a very good mother and she takes care of us even when we put fossil fuels in her body. But anyways, I'm not gonna go on that rant. No, don't do that. So I think that's where my farm name came from. Just the earth, like providing and being abundant and taking care of everyone. And I think that was a very good bridge point between who I am as a Nigerian woman and who I am in my adopted home of Canada. Yeah, that's how I got my name. Yeah.
That is just so beautiful. And I'm so happy, Samantha, that you asked that question and we were able to hear that answer. Yes, but I'm seeing it's 8 o'clock and we asked you to stay with us for half an hour and it's been half an hour. So I want to be respectful of your time. So thank you so much, Siki, for being with us and sharing your journey, your thoughts, your advice even with us. It's been really fantastic. Already I started following you on social media, so very excited about that. Yes, so thank you so much. And I guess we'll let you go for the evening, but I'll be in contact after as well.
Thank you so much. This is actually a lot of fun. I knew it was going to be because it's about food and anyways, but I want to say thank you so much for inviting me. I had so much fun. Thank you guys for your amazing questions. This was fun. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye. Take care. I'm going to read the chat before I leave.
Yes, many thank yous.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.